Okay, so we're going to go over the lexical environment, variable scope, and closure. So every running function in JavaScript and the script as a whole itself have an internal hidden associated object known as the lexical environment. So the lexical environment object consists of two parts. So the environment record, so that is an object that stores all local variables and its properties, and then a reference to the outer lexical environment, the one associated with the outer code. So for the global lexical environment, the outer value will be null because that's like the global lexical environment, but any nested functions, the outer value will be the immediate next lexical environment. So what we'll do is we'll go over some basic variables here and we'll explain out the lexical environment using them at the start. So say I'm just going to declare a variable username. I'm not going to set it to have any value. The next line I'm going to set it to a value. We're going to set it to be another. And then the next line we're going to do change its value to be code place. Okay. So when this file executes, at the very start, the initial values for the username variable, it's actually set to uninitialize. So the lexical environment knows about the variable, but it doesn't actually have a value yet. It's not declared yet, and it doesn't have a value yet. So at this point, it cannot be used. So it would throw an error if you actually try to use it. So then so that's the very start. Then when the code starts to execute, we get down to line 3 here. We see the declaration of this value. So what will happen is the username will then change to be declared. That'll be the value in the lexical environment. Then on the next line, when it goes down to username is equal to another, username here will then change to be another. So it actually has the value. And then the final line then here in the file will also update the lexical environment so that the username variable has code place as the value. So just to give an example of what you will see when you try and access these variables at the different points. So as we said, the initial value of username will be uninitialized in the lexical environment. So if we try to do a console.log here, value, I'll just do a string template. So value, I'm going to pass in username. We will see an error when we run this file. So you see here that we have got a reference error to say cannot access username, not initialize. You cannot access username before initialization. So what we can do then is we'll see when we go just after line 4. So now the username will be declared. So what we'll actually have here for the value that's printed out will be just undefined, because it's been declared but there's no value associated with it. So we can reference the variable at that point, but it doesn't have a value. So then we go to we let line 4 execute, so we're setting the value of username. Now it's got the value of another. So we're here in the lexical environment. And then likewise, when we go to we let the last line, number 5 here, execute, and we will have code place printed out. Okay, so that's the lexical environment with regards to variables. So the next thing that I'll show is functions. So when it comes to functions and the lexical environment, they are declared straight away. So no matter where in the file you actually declare a function, it can be used immediately. So say I create a function, say hello, we pass it in a name, we then do a console.log hello, whatever name has been passed in. Okay, so let's just delete that. So straight off, when we execute the closure file here, the lexical environment will have the username is uninitialized, as we previously showed, and it will have the say hello function declared already, so it knows that it's a function. So what this means is that we can actually call this function straight away as soon as on essentially the first line. So we pass in Bob, and we'll see hello Bob printed out. Hello Bob. Okay, so that's the main difference there between variables and functions. Straight away, the functions are declared and are accessible and usable and referenceable, but variables have to be declared before they can be referenced, and then they need to be given a value before you can use that value. Okay, so next thing what we'll do is we'll just delve a bit deeper into the lexical environment of the say hello function here. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to reference a variable from outside of this lexical environment. So what we're going to do is we're going to say hello, the whatever argument passed in for name is, from, and we're going to do username. Okay, so what's going to happen here is when the say hello function is called, it's going to look in its own local lexical environment. It's going to say, okay, where can I find this name variable? So it's going to see that it can be accessed from the arguments, so that's great, it has it, references it. Then it says we also need the username variable, so it looks in the local lexical environment of the function. It realizes that, oh well, it's not actually here. What to do? It then checks the outer property of the lexical environment, which is this lexical environment up above it. It then looks through all the variables and sees, oh well, there's the username variable, great, I can use that now, and references it. So now what I'll do is I'll run this. I'm actually just going to move the say hello Bob down to the very last line. This is to allow for the username variable to actually have a value. So now when I run say hello Bob, it'll say hello Bob from code place. Great. Okay. So that is a bit more about functions. If we wanted to add another function in and add another bit of nesting, that's perfectly fine. So we'll say if we want to declare another function here, we say capitalize, ignore my spelling. This function, you can pass in a value, and we're going to return the value to uppercase. Okay, we're going to call this function on the username. So now, what's happening here with regards to the lexical environment? What you see is we actually have 3 lexical environments overall. So the first one is the global lexical environment where we have our username variable, we have our say hello function. The second lexical environment that we have is where we have this console log statement, but we only have one function. So we've no variables in here, but we've got one function capitalized. And then we have our third lexical environment, which is here. We haven't declared any variables in here, and we haven't declared any functions in here. So at the very start, what you'll see, if you imagine this is the lexical environment, so the very top is lexical environment is uninitialized for username. The function is declared. Sorry, the say hello function is declared. Then we have inside the say hello function, we have capitalize declared. function, and then inside that third lexical environment we don't have any variables or any functions declared, so we don't have anything in there at the moment. We've only got the reference up to the say hello lexical environment, and then the say hello lexical environment also has the reference up to the global lexical environment up here. So now the other, I suppose, item to remember here is that because the capitalize is a function, it is declared, or sorry, it is declared at the very start, just like say hello was declared at the very start. So that means that we can use capitalize here before it's actually declared in the code from in terms of when you read down through it. In order, if that doesn't matter, it's available to us straight away. So now when we run closure, what we'll see is we'll see our say hello being executed. It'll come in here, say hello, we've passed in, it'll look for a name variable, it'll see it's available in our lexical environment, it's been passed in as Bob, so it says hello Bob, and it goes from, then it looks to call this function here, the capitalize function. It says, okay, is it available in our lexical environment? Yes, it is. It comes down to the function. We reference a variable value that's actually an argument that's been passed in, and that is available to us within the lexical environment. We call the to uppercase function on that, as we're expecting it to be a string for testing purposes here, example purposes. We then return that value in its uppercase format up to here, and you'll notice that again that as earlier, the username variable, when that is searched for, it is looked for in this lexical environment. It's not found there, so it checks the outer lexical environment, goes up, and you see here it has the username variable in the global lexical environment, which is available, and it references. So now when we run this file, what we'll see is hello Bob from code place, all in capital letters. Great. Okay, so just a little bit more, I suppose, on closures in general. A closure is a function that remembers its outer variables and can access them. So you're able to see that here from the function being able to access the username variable. So they automatically remember where they were created using the hidden environment property, and then their code can access outer variables from there. So that's, as I was talking down through each of the lexical environments, it has reference to the outer property, so it can go up to the immediately next lexical environment and access the variables there, and this can go up and up and up all the way to the global lexical environment where the outer value will be null, and at that point, if the variable isn't available, it will just throw an error under the use strict parameters. So I suppose in JavaScript, all functions are naturally closures. There's only one exception really to that rule, and that's when a function is declared using the new keyword. So say if we had a variable here, or sorry, a function declared here using the following format. So my new func equals new, that's the keyword, function alert value. So that's just some basic code there. So we're calling the constructor there of the function class. So basically the difference here with the lexical environment of my new func compared to say capitalize is that the new keyword means that the lexical environment is actually part of the global lexical environment. So its outer will be null, and it will have access to the variables in the global lexical environment only. Okay, that is all.